So we're going to be talking about hyperlocal journalism in this session, and also about how we've used BuddyPress for our hyperlocal site InJersey, and how I think the communities that BuddyPress creates are really empowering for journalism and for media sites in general. And so, first of all, who am I? My name's Ted Mann. I work for Gannett NJ, which is a big newspaper company. We have a lot of newspapers in the Garden State, including these 6 listed here, as well as 5 websites. I help direct strategy for our websites, but my real passion and my real love is WordPress. And I've set up a number of blogs. I administer 164 of our staff blogs across the 5 Gannett NJ websites, and of course, as I'm about to talk to you about, we also have 7 new sites that are all built on BuddyPress, which are hyperlocal sites. First of all, what is hyperlocal? I have some definitions up there, but anyone here who's involved in this want to take a crack at it? Can I call on people in the audience who I recognize from hyperlocal land? What? Go.
Neighborhood newspaper.
Good. That's a great definition. Yeah. Anyone else? Neighborhood newspaper. That's what she said. I mean, this is just, you could go on Wikipedia and pull up their definition. It's sort of constantly evolving, but one way to look about it is news just pertaining to a small community, very, very localized to a town or a neighborhood. And on the web, we've seen a lot of sites pop up lately, but I think that the trend is really towards these types of hyperlocal sites being collaborative in nature. People from the community collaborating with trained reporters or veteran reporters, just to give you a sort of a kind of a obvious example, right here on the left you got the New York Times as the local, which is a hyperlocal blog, and on the right hand you have the New York region on the New York Times. I was trying to figure out if there's still a New Jersey section front somewhere on the Times, but the point is it's a very different treatment of news. Here you've got people from the community, you got them posting pictures from their kids have created on the fridge, and on the right hand side you basically have newspaper stories on the web, right? Okay. So there are a lot of different models for hyperlocal sites. I'm not going to delve into these much more than this, but you have citizen-run hyperlocal sites. You also have ones that are done by professional journalists paid full-time to do just this. You have that pro-am model that I was talking about, the collaborative nature, where you have people from the community writing some of the content, contributing stories. And then last but not least, you have the aggregator sites, which are basically the sites that are running on autopilot. I think that all of these have their merits. My personal preference is, of course, to this pro-am model, and that's what I'm going to be talking a little bit today about what we do on InJersey. But these are all viable models. They're all models that have proven to make money. Every single one of the ones that I'm showing you on here is a viable business that's making enough revenue to support full-time staffers. So, and feel free, if throughout this whole conversation, I want this to be something of a dialogue. If you have any questions about how do you make it a business, or how do you monetize these types of sites, or if you have nitty-gritty questions about WordPress, just raise your hand. Yeah.
I just want to. Patches and the local are funded by big companies, so they're not necessarily really making money now. They're just, in fact, they're almost certainly losing money now. I think.
Well, yeah, I think probably the local hasn't made a whole lot of money, but Patches is getting there. I mean, I talked to the people there quite a bit, and they sell ads. Their self-serve platform, and they've hired a number of sales force, and they're selling ads. I mean, whether or not they're making up enough yet to cover the expenses, no, probably not. But when you start seeing Patch on the front page of AOL, maybe they'll make a little bit more that way, and they'll be able to make achieve the bottom line. But some of these other examples, the startups, what's remarkable about them is that they're not funded by huge corporations. Red Bank Green and a lot of these other sites are just individuals using WordPress and making a living at it.
Can you tell us those URLs?
Sure. Red Bank Green is redbankgreen.com. Patch is patch.com. New Haven Independent, newhavenindependent.com. And every block is everyblock.com. I can pull them up if you want on the web, but there's a ton more examples if you want afterwards. Maybe I'll put something up on after WordCamp. Yeah.
Your slide that's going to be available in.
Yeah, I'll put this up on the. I'll tweet it out afterwards, or put it up on the. See if I can put it up on the WordCamp site if they'll let me do that.
Turkey Monkey?
Yeah, Turkey Monkey. Ted Mann was already taken. All right.
I'll say something that I know the people that are involved in the .nyc website, and they persuaded the council to set aside URLs for neighborhoods. So there'll be Astoria.nyc and so on. We had some discussion about how they might organize content on these neighborhood sites, and it seems to me what you're talking about is going to be very relevant to that. And I'm sorry that the guy from .nyc, Tom, is not here.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to go about it too. To use almost like tags or categories as a way of is that what you're describing?
They're very keen to do it, but when it comes down to content, they've got this kind of totally Web 1.0 kind of like concept of how, it's coming out of the community boards, of how they're actually going to create the content.
Right. Well, I mean, these sites, whether it's large organizations that put them together or just individuals in the communities, they're coming in every community. I mean, throughout New Jersey, it's become this sort of the state that I work in has become this kind of hyper-local battleground, and every single town either has one of these sites, or people are thinking about launching one, or media companies are trying to see if they can service this community. But the next point I was going to make is that one of the big challenges facing these hyper-local sites is user-generated content, and how do you handle that? It's a big challenge. You can have, of course, this is I took some screen grabs from various sites. Here you've got Patch. You can fill out some forms on their site if you want to submit a news tip or submit an announcement. But they're basically just forms, and they go, generate an email sent to somebody to moderate. New York Times has taken some really, been very proactive about sort of recruiting citizen journalists and asking people to be. They have the virtual assignment desk and asking people to take assignments covering PTA meetings and so on and so forth. A lot of these sites, basically the way that I would say most of them handle this is by setting up forms for people to fill out and submit, and then moderating that in some form or another. And that is, if you're a single person, you're the only one doing it, and you can handle it. It's possible to make that work, but when you start to scale up, if you want to have a lot of these hyperlocal sites, like in New Jersey, we want to have we would like to have a hyperlocal site in most of the towns that we cover with the Gannett newspapers, and that model's just challenging. It's not quite sustainable. So I'm going to give. I'll show you InJersey a little bit more in depth in a second, but this is just quickly. What was our solution? Our solution was basically BuddyPress. Well, two things: a combination of BuddyPress and the ability for people to openly register with the site, which sort of goes hand in hand with BuddyPress. Why would you put BuddyPress up if you're not going to let people register? So we just made the sites open for anybody and everybody to sign up. You just click on the good old sign up link in the the top or the right hand side of the site, and create your profile, and you'll be up and running in a matter of minutes. At least that's the idea. And what we have seen is that this definitely lowers the barrier for entry for people from the community to post. We've gotten a number of people posting, but it's not enough. You need to have somebody actively managing the site. Every single one of these hyperlocal sites needs to have a site editor who is just thinking about it 24/7. I mean, we're all, in the blog community here, we all know that you have to, if you're going to run a blog successfully, it has to be on your mind all the time. You have to really live and breathe it, and that's the same. The same is true of the hyperlocal sites. Yeah.
When you're talking about people posting, do you mean specifically talking about BuddyPress in groups, or are they posting their own blogs, or what do you?
The way it works right now in InJersey is actually it's blog based. It's so when you join the site, you also join your town's blog. And you have author privileges.
How do
we may one day decide to pull that back. You know, we may decide to not make everybody an author by default and give them the ability to publish and basically moderate
Contributor or
everything.
author? At what level? I mean, do
Author
they,
status, that's, yeah.
So they what they print is automatically posted on the site?
That is correct. Yeah, which is a little bit. You know, we were at a hyperlocal event a few days ago. It's kind of a controversial thing to some people, the ability or giving people the ability to do that. But the reason why we're doing it is because, you know, that bottleneck that you create if you have to moderate every single post is just like it's just not sustainable. So, yeah.
How'd you recruit the local editors?
Well, I mean, I can tell you. I don't know if I have the.
Hotspots?
The one who does the Freehold site I found on Twitter, which I find just hilariously awesome.
Is there
Yeah.
monitoring?
Are they volunteers?
No, full-time staff. Well, the Freehold one is a full-time staffer. Most of the other ones were reporters in the newsroom who have either taken this on as an additional responsibility or their roles have been sort of rejiggered a little bit. You know, and it's still a challenge for me. You know, I'm working in a newsroom environment where there's just not enough people to do what we want to do. There's certainly not enough reporters in the newsroom to assign every single, one to every single town to do a hyperlocal site. But what we're hoping is that we can build out a model here and that we can ultimately move towards that. Maybe not in every single town, in the first few years, but we can start, strategically picking the towns where it makes the most sense. Yeah.
Ted, how is this different than what's currently going on with Gannett sites in New Jersey? And in particular, mycentraljersey.com. I live in East Brunswick.
Yeah, my Central Jersey is one of our sites.
Where I can and have logged in, created my own user thing, posted something like a news release. In fact, that's exactly what I did. So that content's right there. How is this going to be different than that? And aren't you, to a degree, cannibalizing the readership of, in this case, let's say the Home News Tribune, mycentraljersey.com stories? If there's a hyperlocal block, you look at okay, interesting. So there's a hyperlocal site on East Brunswick. Why would I need to look at mycentraljersey.com?
Right. No, I'm so glad you asked that. And thank you for reading our website and participating in it. The answer to the question of isn't this cannibalizing? Yes, it's definitely that is one of the side effects of this. But we've got to. If we don't launch these types of sites, somebody else is going to do it for us.
Are you going to cross-syndicate between? And
we do that as well. Yes, and we do have content flowing back and forth between the two. You'll see posts from My Central Jersey appear on our hyperlocal site and vice versa. The point is that these are a very different user experience than you get on My Central Jersey, right? My Central Jersey is we always shy away from saying it's the newspaper online, but it's basically what it is, right? And the features that you talked about were Gannett's first attempt really at trying to get that kind of user-generated content and to try and give. But frankly, if you've used those features, and if you know BuddyPress, you know that it's night and day. BuddyPress does all kinds of things that those those features don't. They're not really all that engaging, and that content is kind of segregated and ghettoized on our sites, frankly. And it's probably going to get to be more so because we just haven't seen a great deal of good quality content come through those channels. We see a lot of, like you said, press releases and garbage. And if we start getting press releases on InJersey, and this is what I'm getting to, the whole sort of part about how we use BuddyPress to interact with the community, is we talk to those people. We say, please, we want to work with you. We want you to be able to use InJersey to get the word out about your event, but don't post a press release on our site. Let's see if we can find a way to make this content. Let's post it to our events calendar. Let's massage the story a little bit to make it more reader friendly. Can I answer your questions?
Yeah, I don't want to monopolize the time here, but why not a news release? If it's a somewhat balanced news release, why? I understand you'd want a balanced content, but citizen journalists are not necessarily going to provide you balanced content.
Absolutely. You know, and certain types of news releases. In fact, I pulled up the next slide because we had a screen grab here. But, I think this is a post from the Girl Scouts. You know, so the Girl Scouts posted this story here, perfectly appropriate, perfectly fitting, and you know, and for all all we know, something that maybe one of our reporters might have written, you know, in a similar fashion. So it's not all press releases. I'm just talking about the type of press
Product
release.
press releases, yeah.
Shameless pitching for something or other.
So how does the hybrid thing work?
Okay, so so the way that it works on our site is you can sign up. You go through the registration process. You create your user profile. There's a guy who signed up because he wanted to write about weather on our sites. And then once you start posting, or actually once you register, our hyperlocal editors reach out to you and will work with you on the types of stuff that you're posting. And this is where BuddyPress comes in very handy, is because BuddyPress has private messaging. You can also follow somebody's wire. You can use all those features in order to start a dialogue with that person all through the site, through using all these different channels. And that's what we've done. And and it's not foolproof. We still get people that come on and post stuff that's pushing the limits. But what we haven't seen is a lot of abuse on the site.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For that site, how does that site make money? Because I'm thinking all the local businesses that might advertise are putting up their stuff for free.
That's a good point. We've seen a little bit of that, but can I get back to the monetization question in a minute?
All right.
Because I don't know if anybody else here is interested in that, but I have a lot of thoughts on that. But I want to sort of stick with BuddyPress for just a second. So this is what I was just talking about. We use some of the features of BuddyPress in order to start that dialogue. And so rather than doing it all, like say over email or using those form submissions, we're using it all using the BuddyPress platform, which is really excellent for this kind of dialogue and for this kind of community building. I think pretty soon what we'll start doing is using the groups feature of BuddyPress, which is very extensible. You can build on a lot of additional features with that, and we'll start forming groups for the freeholds, citizen journalists, sort of group, and we'll start to manage assignments and stuff like that using that platform. I'm just going to show you a quick demo of the site because I'm guessing probably a lot of people here haven't been on it yet. So let me see if I can pull it up. See if I'm still connected to the network here. Okay. In fact, you may not even hear this, but I'll see if I can pull this down.
Welcome to InJersey.
Sorry for my awful voiceover.
InJersey is a community blog network designed by and for New Jersey residents. The sites provide a meeting place for homeowners, town officials, reporters, business people, teachers, and other locals to share news and discuss current hot topics in their town. We launched in 6 pilot areas: Freehold, Madison, Cherry Hill, Vineland, Flemington, and Collingswood, and plan to expand into more towns soon. To find any of these sites, simply go to InJersey.com and click on the town you're interested in on the map. The sites are run by journalists from the 5 Gannett, New Jersey websites: app.com, courierpostonline.com, mycentraljersey.com, dailyrecord.com, and thedailyjournal.com. They help steer the conversation and post breaking news. However, InJersey is completely open to public registration, and we encourage everyone from the community to sign up and become a contributor. To register, simply click on the sign up link at the top of the site or in the sidebar. Next, fill out a short registration form and upload an avatar. You'll get an email from the site confirming that you are who you say you are. Just click on that, and it'll activate your account and take you right back to InJersey. Next, click on your town of choice and log in to make your first post. Registering with InJersey gives you access to post to every town. Once logged in, you can use the navigation bar at the top of the site to easily switch between towns and log into each. So, for example, if you live in Cherry Hill but recently noticed a new business that opened in Collingswood, hop on over to that site and post your news there. You can also post calendar events by clicking on the Events tab in the contributor screen, or use the Post Google Maps field to put your post onto a sidebar map. You can also upload photos, embed videos, or even make a post using an iPhone or BlackBerry phone. All of the InJersey sites are fully mobile optimized, so you can view them from your cell phone or smartphone. You can also use InJersey to connect directly with other users by sending private messages.
All right, you get the idea. I'm not going to bore you with the whole video. But so that hopefully that gives you a sense of how the site works, and I'll be the first to admit that I'm a little ashamed that we're still using the default BuddyPress theme. I'm really looking forward. Yeah. What's that?
You gave that up. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, it's a great theme, which is the reason why we just used it, because right out of the box, it's pretty awesome. I won't say it's Facebook in a box, because I know that they're saying this weekend that that's not what it is. But the default theme is really great. But I there have been amazing things done with BuddyPress theming, and I really want to revise that. But I figured, has anybody here used BuddyPress? At a show of hands. Okay, good. How many people here are thinking about maybe trying BuddyPress after this weekend? Okay, so that's a little more.
After this presentation.
I figured it would be helpful to just share a little bit more specifically about what we did to, I think, make BuddyPress more suitable for hyperlocal news. Because, yes, out of the box, the theme works great, and there's, it's a really cool interface, and you can do the private messaging and all. But in terms of actually getting it to be a hyperlocal website, there were a number of additional plugins. I mean, we have way too many plugins running on this site, but I figured I'd call out just a few. If we were to strip it down to the essentials, these would be the ones that I would say are really, really, really useful. And bonus, if you have a regular WordPress site or a WordPress Muse site, these will work on those too. At least most of them will. So I'm going to go through them really quick. First is Post Google Map. We have a couple guys from Web Dev Studios in the back of the audience. Show your hands. Yeah, these guys are pretty amazing. They if you have a plugin need or theme need, they do cool stuff. And one of the things that I needed was, I saw what Patch was doing on their website. They have this great little map where every single story and article is plotted right on the map. And I was like, I want to do that. I need to be able to do that. I used a bunch of the tools freely available, like Outside In and the like, which will map your content for you, but nobody was really getting it quite right. The stories weren't showing up where they're supposed to show up on the map. So Web Dev Studios created this plugin called Post Google Map, which basically at the end of every post you have a few fields where you just type in the address, and you don't need to fill out every field. You just need to type in whatever you would type into Google to get an address, and bang, it's plotted on the map. You can choose custom icons. You can do all sorts of cool stuff. So that's a great plugin. Check it out. Next one is Add Minimize. There are a lot of plugins out there to restrict the sort of what different users or what different roles see. So like I said, we by default make all of our new signups authors, but I didn't want the authors to actually see everything that you would see with the default author status. So Add Minimize is a really great, you can see a sort of a screen grab of it here, where you can go and you can disable certain things. If you don't want them to be, for example, we have a featured posts area at the top of our site. I don't want people from the community being able to control that. I want that to be reserved to the site editors to control. So so that, for example, is like one of the things that you can turn off. So I think that's a great plugin. Feed WordPress is it's one that I still have mixed feelings about. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you about that because
Yeah.
I find it has a lot of issues.
Feed WordPress, yeah. It does. It definitely requires some serious. You got to make sure it's compatible with everything in your site, and you got to make sure your Magpie RSS is up to date and all that stuff.
Okay, that's the question I have. In using Feed WordPress, how do you find out the Magpie and the Feed WordPress? Like, how do
The question was about
get them to work together? Because they sometimes
What does it
don't.
do first?
the RSS. Well, so Feed WordPress, yeah, that's better to start there. Feed WordPress is a plugin that allows you to take an RSS feed from another site or another site, and to essentially syndicate it into your blog. So where this comes in really handy for us is we have a lot of people in our communities who already have blogs. And they're like, I don't want to stop doing my blog and start posting on your blog, and I don't want to have to be burdened with having to double post everything. So what we did was we said, we still want to work with you. We still want to have you on our site. What do you think about the idea of us syndicating your content? And surprisingly, everybody was thrilled with that idea. More visibility for their stories. So, so Feed WordPress does that very effectively, especially if they're already on WordPress or blog or whatever. If they don't have an RSS feed, it makes it a little more tricky to use that. But what I've done is I've used Feed WordPress. There's also like an extension of it called like attribute. So you can actually pull in their feed, and you can also put like a little attribution tag at the beginning of each post. So it says syndicated via Joe Smith's personal blog, and it works very well for that. Yeah.
Does it do their full blog or a specific blog?
You can set it to how, if you want it to be only certain posts with a certain tag, if you want to
Moderate it, I guess.
Yeah, and actually we do that as well. We have actually content from our core sites, our core newspaper sites, that's syndicated, and then our reporters essentially moderate them to decide which stories really make sense for this platform or not. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we get it in writing that they've given us the okay to do that. Yeah, good question. No, we wouldn't syndicate anybody without their permission. That would be weird. BP blog author link. Now this one's BuddyPress specific.
Excuse me, before you go into that one, I just have a question about the Feed WordPress and the Magpie.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just like if Feed WordPress asks you to upgrade your Magpie RSS parser.
Yes.
Do it. Just I've never had any issues with that.
What I found is though with Feed WordPress, and this is what I wanted to ask you. When you do the Feed WordPress, right, and you update your Magpie, do you find that you're putting in the RSS feeds, in the boxes 1, 2, 3, whatever you have to do? Do you find that when you go to back to the page itself, that the syndicated content is coming through? Don't you find that sometimes there are errors on the page? That's what I've been finding in using Feed WordPress.
Yeah, the question was about Feed WordPress and errors and other funky code coming through when you syndicate. If I remember correctly, I think in the plugin there's a setting to expose the syndicated content to the PHP filters, and you want to make sure that setting is on. I think that might be what you're seeing. Okay, BP blog author link. This one is, let me just see if I can show it to you really quick. It's because it's just very simple. So, sorry, I have a lot of stuff open. So, like one of the things I wanted on the site was when you click on the author, the Girl Scouts, that you go to, rather than going to an author archive, which is what you have on a typical WordPress blog, that you actually go to their profile page. Right, and you see their BuddyPress profile. That's a very simple plugin, but I think it just it helps. Welcome Pack. This is another BuddyPress one. I like this plugin a lot. It's one that you can install. So when somebody signs up for your blog, you can automatically make them give them 5 friends. Sort of like Facebook and MySpace do. So you can automatically just put them on a certain group, and you can also send them a welcome message, so it's just automated, which is really nice. Like we use the welcome email to basically explain to them a little bit about how the site works, what sort of stories we're looking for, how you go and log in, that sort of stuff. The WP Wall, you guys, I'm assuming a lot of people have seen WP Wall before. It's just a plugin that allows you to have a wall in your sidebar. So rather than having comments wedded to a post, you just have a little wall area for people to post comments on your site just in general. I think it's another nice one. I actually haven't seen a ton of people using that on our site, so but I think it just makes sense for this type of site. Yeah.
So are all of these plugins, with the exception of Post Google Map, are they free plugins or are these that you might custom build?
Yeah, and Post Google Map is free. It's we made it freely available in the Web Dev Studios made it in the plugin.
Premium dev, whatever. Okay.
No. I mean we funded it, but we asked them to make it freely available because I don't.
But you have greater resources than probably most of us than do.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay, that's true. That's true. It's the newspaper stuff.
Yeah. No, I can tell you how much all of this costs all told, and it's not very much money. We know this is why we're on WordPress, right? We're not. Otherwise, we would have built a custom CMS like Patch. Event Calendar. I love the Event Calendar plugin. It's a fantastic plugin. If your site, if you have any need at all for people to post events, it works really well when you post an event to the calendar. You can also, there's a checkbox to make it into a post, so it can do double duty. Every time you add something, it can automatically be turned into a post. You can go back and edit that post and add it to the Post Google Map, put in a photo, It's a really, really, really great plugin, and a lot of people are using it. It is unfortunately one of those things that you have to kind of like with the community bloggers, you have to kind of walk them through how it works. You have to go to the library and say like, this is how you add your library events. But when they start using it, then they'll be using it for all eternity. The tweet meme button, or tweet meme, I don't know how you're supposed to say it, but I think this is just a great plugin. I think every website should have this. It's just so easy to set up. And what it does is it adds a button to retweet the story and it also gives you a count of the number of times something has been tweeted. There's also, while it's not a WordPress plugin, there's also a great new Facebook share button, which does the same thing, which you can get on Facebook. I'm sorry, I don't have I should have like written down the page of the location or something. But if you like Google like Facebook share button and look on the, I think it's Facebook dev site, you'll find it. It's really cool. They're both great. The share this one is the one I've used for a long time to allow people to share content. But I think that those buttons in particular, because they give you the count of the number of times something's been shared, they're even better. Cosmic BP user sign up password, another really simple BuddyPress plugin that just allows you to give people an option to sign up when they sign up to have a password rather than having one of those auto-generated ones that WordPress gives you with the 20 different characters.
Oh.
And the last but not least, this is actually I feel like I'm a shill for Web Dev Studios today, but this is another one that they literally just rolled out like practically today.
It's for the plugin competition.
For the plugin competition here. So everybody, not that we have a vote in the plugin competition, but vote for. This is really cool. This is, I hope, and I haven't actually been able to set it up yet because we're all here, but I believe that this will solve one of the great frustrations that I've had with BuddyPress and our hyperlocal effort, because what it will do is when you sign up for BuddyPress, it'll give you the option to choose which blogs and which groups you want to register for right at the beginning, because that's one of the big frustrations we have. We don't have an easy way for people to choose which town they want to blog for. This will accomplish that in a really elegant way. It can also allow you to moderate new members, which is another really cool feature. And you can customize exactly what sort of notification that people get when they're being moderated.
Question.
By the way, do you want to add anything to that, Brian?
No, that's pretty good.
Okay. It's really going to be a great new feature to BuddyPress. I hope that maybe the BuddyPress people will eventually incorporate this into core. Yeah.
Does it sign them up to be authors, contributors, or can you choose what level? Like, you just want them to be a subscriber?
Well, that's something. I mean, that might be actually something to consider in the future. Well, I don't think.
Right now, the way it works is depending on what blog it is, it looks at the default role that the administrator sets. And it just makes sense.
Okay, so if creating a blog or whatever, if that's turned off, it's not.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Well, I mean, the administrators use it if they want the members to sign up for certain particular blogs that they set up to find the back end.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Sure.
One clarification. BuddyPress is totally separate from WordPress.
No. BuddyPress is a suite of plugins that you install on top of WordPress Mute. And eventually it will be a suite of plugins installed on top of WordPress standard. Yeah. So you can, as long as you have a WordPress Mute, which is a WordPress multi-user, it's the multi-blog version of WordPress, you can install BuddyPress. So, a couple other things. So those were plugins that I really like, and forgive me if that was some of that stuff was a little technical. But if anybody here wants to talk about other plugins, I mean, like I said, we have a list a mile long. It's way too long, frankly. But those are the ones that I think are really great for hyperlocal. These are also awesome hyperlocal tools that you don't need to install as a plugin. You can actually just go and grab widgets and embed them on your site. And I love every single one of these, and these are a big part of what we're trying to do on hyperlocal, both on our InJersey site and soon on our newspaper sites too. First is SeeClickFix. SeeClickFix is a map-based service where you go on and if you want to report a pothole or broken traffic light or graffiti in your neighborhood, you just go to one of the SeeClickFix maps and you can literally just click on the map where you're talking about, and it pulls up like a little form that you can submit your issue. There's also like a text-based widget of this, which pulls in the most recent issues. So if you go onto one of our So if you go onto one of our hyperlocal sites, oops, and still loading, and you go down in the sidebar, you also get the latest issues submitted in that area.
Where do they post that, on your site or on their site?
Well, the way that we've got SeeClickFix working here is you can submit a report right here using this form, or you can do it on that map, which if you click on any of these issues, you'll go straight to the map page on our site. And it's a great tool because it keeps everybody on the site. It's, SeeClickFix has made all of these services totally embeddable so that you can just you can host everything on your site. Sorry, the screen is a little blown up, but you can see all the issues submitted. I think it's a really yeah.
Hey, Ted.
Our hyperlocal reporters make great hay of this because what happens is you get somebody, there's a car accident and somebody, says this intersection needs a new traffic light because it caused this car accident, and then 20 people. This is actually an example of one time. 20 people come on and say, "I want that fixed too," and then our hyperlocal reporter contacts the town government and says, "What are you going to do about this traffic light?" And then she gets a few blog posts out of it. Ultimately they get a new traffic light, no more car accidents. Everybody's very happy, and it's just a really great way to engage the community.
So
I think.
Does this mean that this across all sites that the widget is on, is the results that are on the map, or just the ones that are submitted via your site?
No, all the results across any place. Like for example, we have a. I was just on it earlier today. We have a site in North Jersey, in Madison, and the New York Times has one in the town right next door, as does Patch, and both of them feature SeeClickFix. And sure enough, there's like a ton of things which I don't think ever even came through our site in the neighboring towns. Well, of course it didn't come through our site. In the neighboring towns, submitted via those sites.
It can turn into a monster, right?
Yeah, it's really, and it definitely puts the government officials in a place where they have to do something about it. The way that SeeClickFix, the way it really starts to mobilize things is that when you submit something, there are what's called watch lists, predefined. So every time something is submitted, say in Freehold Borough, it automatically sends an email to the Public Works officer in Freehold responsible for those types of issues, or the police department. So it really does sort of like it automatically pings them, it pings us so that we know about it, and it really does make stuff happen.
Is there a mobile component to this?
I
I would probably report.
SeeClickFix, yeah. I'm sorry. There's an iPhone app. Yeah. Apologize. Yeah.
Could you cover some thoughts on monetization of the site? You mentioned something before, and I don't have a lot of time left.
Yeah. Well, let me go back to my slide here for a second. I want to quickly talk about one other great service. So earlier I said we created that map plugin because we felt like we couldn't get anything to work quite. We couldn't get content to be mapped very well using other services. As it happened, another service came along called Outside In, which has become incredibly good at mapping news content. In fact, just as good as us actually placing things on the map. And what's also great is that they will aggregate stories from all other websites so that you can put them all onto one big news map. And it's a really, really cool service. And they have an incredibly easy to use publisher portal platform. And I'm totally like crazy about them too. And last but not least, monetization.
Is that free? Outside In?
Yes. Well, you embed their tool on your site, and with it come their ads are embedded on there too.
What's the name?
Outside In, OUTSIDE.IN. And last but not least, monetization. Sorry that it took me so long to get to this. The way that we're monetizing our site is with two things: banner ads, and soon we're going to be putting up flyer boards. This is a service where basically looks like a bulletin board, right? And you have these little flyer-based ads. And you mouse. Oh, what happened? Oh no! I didn't plug in my computer. I'm sorry. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. I'm gonna go back. Where was I? Sorry about that. So, so you click on one of these ads, and it pulls up a large version of that flyer, and allows you to, if it's like for a concert, it allows you to get directions to the concert. If it's like something that you might want to share on Facebook or Twitter, you can share it. They're really interactive ads. They're very different from any kind of traditional banner advertising we've ever had on the site, and so this is another service that you can get set up with. This is, I think, or I believe it's one of the most effective ways that hyperlocal sites have managed to monetize their business that I have seen.
People are actually going there to see what's being advertised?
No. Here, let me pull it up on a site. It'll make more sense. I'm going to pull it up on. I don't know if this is a.
Even on your site, they're going to that part of your website to see what's being.
Well, those flyer boards will be just like basically we'll add units in between posts.
And
So they're banner ads.
Sort of, except they work different than banner ads. They're you're getting the flyers and you can interact with the flyers in a way that you can't really with a banner ad.
Is the community putting that up, or who's putting those flyers?
Flyrboard's a self-serve ad platform, so anybody can come to the site and create an ad and submit it, and yeah.
I think actually that was my question. Do you think that the results from hyperlocal advertising is a lot more effective, a lot more, it works better than just let's say you would see in the New York Times?
Well, you're definitely going to get that geo-targeted community. You're going to get people from that neighborhood generally. I mean, you'll get some people who just accidentally came on the Google
local Chinese takeaway and takeout.
What's that?
The local Chinese takeout.
Yeah. I mean, for local mom and pop shops, this is a great way to reach their community and speak directly to them. And generally speaking, hyperlocal sites do charge a much higher CPM. Yeah. Or cost per thousand.
How do you get the community to use Flyrboard and not just insert it as a user?
Well, people, you can't use Flyrboard if you're just like a WordPress author. It doesn't, it's a self.
I'm saying like how a WordPress. I'm somebody in the community and I have a digital image of something.
Yeah.
I could put it in as a user, or I could pay on Flyrboard. And I'm saying like how do you
get people to not go in?
Right. How do you get people to go in and not try and get free advertising by posting it? Well, when they do, you tell them, please don't do that, and you take the post down. And if they do it again, then you demote their privileges, which we haven't had to do that yet. But maybe one day we will. Yeah.
I mean, it would seem like you could turn into a Craigslist kind of thing if you didn't.
Yeah. Well, we're not looking to do anything quite like Craigslist yet, but
news. I have a chair to sell.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you mean you're talking about with the Flyrboard, people posting Craigslist?
I'm saying with the general posting. If you're saying people can post whatever they want, Well,
that's where the whole use of BuddyPress and having the reporters who are managing the sites actively. It's not like this whole thing is just going on autopilot. You have people very closely curating all of the content. And yes, we've taken down the barrier for entry, and people can post anything they want. But you better believe it. If they post something inappropriate
or silly,
do you think the
idea could be transferred to make a kind of like a classified section of a?
Oh yeah, there in fact I think is a BuddyPress classified theme or plugin that I've heard of. I haven't tried it yet, but it's supposed to be very effective. Yeah.
And who sets the rates on Flyrboard?
We do.
You do.
We do. Yeah, we haven't actually set our rates yet because we're still trying to get the contract.
Is that a rev share?
Flyrboard, yeah, that's a rev share. I don't think I can say what our revenue share is, but it's it's good for us. I mean, it's good money. Yeah.
Independent spelled wrong if you want to pull up.
Oh, okay.
What are you thinking about charging like for some small business like? And what's your traffic?
What do you mean?
Like $100 an ad? 500? Like what are you charging the small business?
Oh well, let me give you a concrete example. So New Haven Independent has some of the stuff up on their site, and here you go, Flyrboard with the self-serve platform here. So you click on post a flyer. You'll go to the the self-serve platform, and you'll see, you know, they have their basic rate here as low as $80 a week to be on there. You know, and that's sort of, you know, $100, maybe $200 max if you have a very popular site per week is sort of a, you know, a good guideline.
It's paid
if
per
you're-
click, is it?
No. This pay-per-view is not pay-per-click. It's either, you can either charge a cost per thousand,
Yeah.
right? If you're charging on a CPM basis, you might charge $30 to $40 CPM. These are just general guidelines. I mean, these aren't exactly what Gannett's going to be charging, but or you could charge on like a sponsorship model. So somebody owns their flyer board for like a week, right? And you could charge like $80, $100, $200. Yeah. Sure, you could have both. I mean, yeah, you could have both on your site. Why not?
Do you use AdSense?
No, I have not found that Google AdSense makes you any money, but it works very well.
It's Google a lot of money.
Yeah.
For ad serving, what do you prefer to use? Do you guys have something?
We have our own newspaper ad serving system, which is going to be the easiest way for them to schedule. There actually is a great plugin, which is like non-GPL, so I don't know if it's like, you know, bad to mention it here, but there is a like if you happen to be like a little, you know, startup and you don't have an ad infrastructure in place and you want to have your own self-serve platform, but you don't want to like partner with somebody on a rev share, there's a great plugin called, I think it's called OIO Publisher. It costs a little bit of money, which is why it's like non-GPL, and but it allows you to have a completely self-serve ad platform on your site, which is pretty neat.
And that's across like an MU site?
Yeah, I think that they've recently done some improvements on it that make it more, you know, MU friendly. But you could use it on a regular WordPress site too, I think. It's a pretty, I mean, I've played around with it quite a bit. And, you know, if Flyerboard didn't do the job so well, I think that would be my next alternative. Yeah.
Do you share revenue with contributors anyway?
No. Maybe you know, maybe one day we'll reach that point where I was actually having a discussion just a few minutes ago about, like, you know, maybe one of the models for hyperlocal sites is to have contributors be the site editors and people from the community be the site editors rather than having full-time staffers, and, you know, have it almost like be like a freelance arrangement.
To add to that, how are you guys getting people into, how are you
Incentivizing people? Well, we're going out to the community. We're going to, you know, libraries and you know, to City Hall, and, you know, and meeting with people in the community and telling them how the site works, giving them a little walkthrough on how to post, and, you know, sending out regular like email blasts, putting up flyers, handing out. It's a very grassroots marketing thing. I remember coming into this thinking like, oh, we're going to put up a billboard on the side of the highway and we'll have all these people. It doesn't really happen that way. You end up, you know, just handing out postcards, handing out flyers, handing out business cards, going to the local churches, and you know, just doing as much grassroots work as you can. Which is why it's so key to have reporters actually out in town, you know, basically camping out on Main Street.
Another Flyboard question. You mentioned somebody could sponsor that site for a week or whatever. You can only, are you limited to the number of Flyerboard things? Is it limited?
The number of placements?
Yeah.
No. You could have you could put Flyerboard all over your site.
It looked like it was in a sidebar over there. Do they rotate? Like?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can have the Flyerboards rotate if you're selling them that way. You can configure it a whole variety of different ways. There is, by the way, with Flyerboard, as I understand it, there is a little bit of a startup fee, just so you know. So it's not like I showed, you know, SeeClickFix and Outside In. Basically, to get up and running with them will take you no more than 5-10 minutes to set up an account and get ready to start embedding the maps. Flyerboard's a little different. You got to actually reach out to them and develop an arrangement, but it's worth it, I think. And, you know, all these hyperlocal sites that have used them to monetize their business sort of shows that it works. Anything else?
Can we pack up so we can go for the...
Yeah, let's go drink. Thanks everyone, thanks for coming.